All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and get started if my students want to turn on their cameras. And to all my attendees that are logged on, thank you guys for being here. This is our MSU student panel, so it's really your guys' opportunity to get to know some current MSU students. We're going to have some questions that we're going to run through, but then also do not hesitate to put any questions you have in chat that you want to ask these guys. Before we get started, I do want to have our students introduce themselves. If you guys want to say your name, where you're from, what you're studying, and then why you chose to come to MSU. If we want to start with Allie.
My name is Allie, and I am currently a last semester senior studying cell biology and neuroscience. I am an out-of-state student from Stanley, Idaho, and I chose Montana State because it reminds me of home with all the mountains and the outdoor activities, but it's far enough away from home where I can still have my independence.
Do you want to have Lauren go next?
Yeah, so I'm Lauren, state student originally Big Timber, Montana. I am currently a senior studying industrial and management systems engineering. And I chose MSU mostly because my mom wanted me to go here, but also I just really wanted to be an engineer. And of course, I had one of the best engineering schools in my backyard. So why wouldn't I come here? So yeah.
And
All right, I'm John. Oh, sorry. I'm John. I'm from Billings, Montana. Kind of came to MSU. Oh, sorry, studying economics as well. I'm kind of came to MSU because it's close to my home, but it has all the outdoor activities I wanted to do in college. So it's kind of my story.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing a little bit about yourself. So again, I want to reiterate that any attendees can drop in questions in chat, but I do have some questions that we can start off with. And I think one of my favorite ones is, why did you guys, again, we kind of briefly elaborated on this just now, but specifically for my Montana students, why did you guys choose to attend MSU? So if Lauren and Jonathan, you guys want to talk a little bit about your reasoning and kind of what that transition was like?
Sure. So I kind of mentioned this. MSU is the top choice for universities that students from Montana choose. So I was kind of hesitant about that, actually. I didn't want to come to MSU because I'm from a small town and it was pretty dramatic and everyone comes to MSU. So I was really afraid of that drama kind of following me from a small town to the big university. But once I got here, I realized that my fears were like just not true. So when I got here, I made so many different friends that weren't from Montana. I made a lot of out-of-state friends because our student population is 50-50. So I currently live with a girl from Helena, but then I also have a roommate from Washington. So you kind of get that best of both worlds type thing. And then, yeah, I kind of mentioned I just really wanted to be an engineer, and this is a great engineering school. So yeah.
Yeah, so again, I'm from Montana as well, from Billings, so it's not too far down the road. That was one big thing coming here. I wanted to stay close to home, but not be at home. The mountains are here. I'm really into hunting and fishing, and Bozeman had all those spots for me to do that, opportunities to do that. And also, my sister went here too, to be truthful, and so I kind of followed her here, but it was a good choice. Beyond that too, Bozeman, it's in Montana, but it also has a feel that's a little different. The younger population, I really like that kind of feel about the town.
Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about that, you guys. And to ask a question towards Allie too, what is your guys' favorite memory throughout college? And we want to start with Allie before we go on to everyone else.
One of my favorite memories, and I think it's so special because it was one of the first memories I made here in Bozeman, was right before my parents left. We had gone to the Ellen Theater, and I guess it's the end of summer, beginning of fall. They have like a Western series. Well, they'll show a Western movie every week. And so my parents and I went to that. We spent like the whole day walking around campus, figuring out where my classes were going to be, went to the bookstore, then went to the Ellen. and then had a really nice dinner at Montana Airworks kind of before we all split apart. And so it was just the atmosphere of it all, how everyone around us was so friendly, and it was just a really good goodbye for all of us.
Anyone else want to share their favorite memory of either MSU or in Bozeman, really whatever, throughout your college experience?
I can go next. Can you guys hear me all right? I only have one headphone in. Is that okay? Okay, awesome. So mine's a little weird, but it was intramural dodgeball. My freshman year, they had a tournament. I got a team together, and we lost the first round. We won our games though, got back to the championship and lost, but it was a lot of fun. It was a big student atmosphere. People were cheering, so it was kind of cool to be in a big environment like that. It was fun.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite memories, I would say just going up to Highlight Reservoir, so about 20 minutes away from Bozeman itself. There's this huge reservoir, and I go kayaking up there. Let's see, hammocking, and then one of my favorite memories was me and my friends. We went up there when there was like a huge meteor shower, and we just went up there and stargazed and just saw shooting stars for hours. So it was awesome.
Very cool. Thanks, you guys. Kind of going off of that, you guys mentioned a little bit of just like obviously activities, different stuff you've done on campus and around town. What are some good ways to get engaged and get involved across MSU's campus? If anyone wants to jump in on that first.
I can go first in this one. So your freshman, you go to a thing called Catapalooza, and it has a bunch of different clubs and organizations with tents, so you can see what you're really interested in. That's one way to get involved. However, for me, I actually work for intramurals and club sports, and that was one way I felt involved, was actually getting an on-campus job. It kind of sounds weird, but I met like a great group of people with shared interests. That was one way. There's a ton of academic clubs. I'm also in the econ club, and I found a lot of people with my similar interest academically. So it's some of the ways that like I felt to get involved. That's kind of the way I did it.
One way that I found, or a really good resource that I had, was freshman year. I took a integrated physiology class, and there were student assistants who were about 2 years older than me helping out with the course. So I actually asked them, what are some clubs you wish you had joined, or what are some clubs that you're a part of now that you're really happy that you're a part of? And I think that that just kind of opened up my doors to kind of ask some older students what they recommend, especially since we're all in a similar degree being in that class. And then a few years later, I was actually a student assistant for that same class. And it definitely just reassured it of how you're just begging for younger students to ask you questions during those class times, because there's only so much material that you can cover, and then there's usually an extra like 15 minutes at the end. And so there's always that time in those conversations that you can start. And I don't want anyone to feel like that being a young freshman that you might annoy the older students, because in that setting especially, that's what they're there for. So definitely utilize them.
Yeah, and then for me, one of the biggest things that I did, so I went to Catapalooza my freshman year, so all 300 clubs and organizations, they set out a ton of booths and they hand out a bunch of free stuff to everyone just to kind of get you involved in joining clubs. I joined a couple clubs. I didn't end up staying in any of them, but I know that I signed up for some because I still get emails. And then one of the other things, I just was really passionate about getting involved. And so I really, really wanted to work for Office of Admissions. I wanted to be a tour guide. I wanted to be an orientation leader. And I did end up doing both of those things, and that ended up getting me this position. So there's really a bunch of different opportunities for that. And then as an engineer, I attend a Women in Engineering dinner every year, and they offer a bunch of different clubs that you can join, and then also employer information. So there's different employers recruiting specifically women in engineering. So we do offer a bunch of just different ways to get involved. You just have to kind of look for them.
Awesome. And a couple of you touched on your academic experiences, and so this might be a good time to transition into your major, favorite research experiences. So does anyone want to start off by talking about some of their favorite academic experiences have been on campus, whether it's research, a class that you've taken, anything?
I can start. So, my academic experience, I feel like has been kind of normal. I came in not really knowing what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to be an engineer. And then I ended up declaring my major going into my sophomore year as industrial and management systems engineering. And then one of my favorite research opportunities, I guess this isn't, it is research, but in a roundabout way. I ended up studying abroad last fall in England, and I got a really cool opportunity just to do research over there within my classes. And it was really awesome because you get to learn how different countries and different cultures do research and how they learn and everything like that. So I got to learn about industrial psychology and how different team behaviors affect an organization. And it's just very different than the US. So now I have that just different perspective, which I think is really cool. So yeah.
I can go next. I have had two research opportunities at Montana State. The first was more of a traditional lab setting. I actually took a course from that professor, and then he asked me if I would want to work in his lab. And then I ended up working there for a full year. And what I did was I actually crossbred different fruit flies and then ended up dissecting their brains, and then we imaged them to see the different types of chemicals that are at each synapse. So that was very in-depth, probably one of the hardest classes that I've ever taken, but definitely worth it. I definitely learned a lot. And then currently what I'm doing is probably more geared towards my passion, which would be I want to practice medicine in a rural town. And so the research I'm doing currently is I am collecting data about perinatal services across Montana. So basically, like where the hospitals where you can have a baby, how many emergency deliveries they have, a bunch of different information and how it's cost effective as well. So, and then with the end goal of increasing labor and delivery services to citizens of Montana. So definitely more geared to my personal goal, and definitely excited to be part of that team as well.
Yeah, I'm actually the one here that didn't do research yet. I'm a sophomore, but there is opportunities for sophomores, so don't let that, my experience, scare you away. But my major though, I wanted to do when I came to MSU either geology or economics, and there's no crossover whatsoever there. So I found out really quick in classes, what I liked, and econ was for me. Yeah, that's why I just wanted to be. It's an analytical, math-driven field, and that's why I liked it. Yeah, no research though. Sorry.
That's okay. In terms of academics too, does anyone want to elaborate a little bit on the various student support services for students here? Maybe any experiences you've had with your advisor, tutors across campus, help centers, and how those can be really beneficial for students throughout their 4 years?
I can touch a little bit about math and stuff like that. I know for the math center, it is a center in the Wilson Hall. It's open, I think, from 8 to 8 or 8 to 5, I believe, somewhere in those times. But there's always a TA or a teacher there helping you with any math class from beginner math classes all the way to the most advanced calc and stats. There's always a TA or teacher there to help you out. I know when I took some more difficult stats courses, I needed that help for projects and homework, and it was always there, but they always helped me out. And yeah, great resource. It's drop in too, so no appointment needed. And along that, in the same building, there's the writing center. The writing center, you submit your assignment or your request a day early, and they'll help you either write it or just edit it for you. And that could be academic or non-academic, like a resume. Yeah, I've used that a few times too, and with great success. So yeah.
Adding on to, or I guess switching gears from the math center, I've utilized the writing center quite a bit, not only in an academic setting, but also as I apply to graduate level programs. They have been very helpful. I'm not very confident in my writing, and so they've definitely helped give me that confidence of just having a complete stranger read over your writing and be like, no, you're on the right track, has been extremely helpful for me.
Yeah, and then going off of that, one of the main resources in Yarnell Center for Student Success, and they offer $2 that for I think calculus, which was super awesome, and chemistry. And then they also offer group sessions for free. So I would go in there before like a huge chemistry exam, and there'd be a bunch of other students in there, and we would all be kind of going through the review together with a tutor. And then they also provide services like resume review, helping you write a cover letter. They do mock interviews. I've used them to help me write a resume, to get information about internships, and then they also offer free headshots. So I went in there and I got my professional headshot taken, which was super awesome. And they just kind of offer a bunch of different professional advice and how to succeed in there. So I found that really useful.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all those resources are awesome, and a lot of them are no additional cost to students. So definitely some benefits to being a student on MSU's campus. In terms of academics, kind of the last question that I'll ask in terms of your guys' experiences pertaining to your major and other experiences across campus, what has been one of the biggest challenges that you guys have had to adjust to? I know that coming from high school to college, it can be kind of overwhelming to look at college coursework, more time you have to spend on homework and assignments. So I guess what was one of your guys' biggest challenges, and what is some advice that you can offer to an incoming freshman? Heavy question. I'll let you guys take some time to think.
My main transition was, I remember in high school doing tons of worksheets, tons of projects, tons of homework questions, and coming into college, there were definitely classes where my only grade was my final exam. And that is very intimidating. However, when you read through the syllabus, that percentage of how, let's say, your exams could be worth 80% of your final grade, even though that can be very intimidating, your professors have done this before. They know how it all works out. They've probably had some similar classes like this, and they set you up for success, whether it's through their office hours. A lot of professors will like actually recommend certain tutors for you, as well as, and I will be honest, I've had my grades boosted by simply going into their office hours as well. Not a lot of people take advantage of that, and just showing your effort and showing that you are putting in the time and that you really do want to learn. It's not always just about the grade portion, it's about the whole overall experience. And so by showing your professors that you're not just doing it for the grade, but you actually care about your major, I think was a very big transition from high school to college, where in high school, it was more just about the grades. You got penalized for turning things in late. Penalized. Mine also, it's kind of funny, is my English professors, I remember, or my English teachers in high school were very into like formatting. Like it had to be a specific format, certain font, everything. And then I've had professors in college who are like, no, I just want the information. You don't have to spend an extra hour formatting it in an exact way. So every professor is different. So that's why it's important to read through everything. But I think the fact where more of the responsibility will be in your own shoes, and that can be a lot of weight at first, but there's also the professors believe in you, and I think just by having that can get you through it.
Yeah, for me, coming into college, I was fairly comfortable with my writing. However, I took some more and more advanced writing courses, and became a little harder. And the assignments were, 14-page papers every 2 weeks, and you look at that coming from high school, it's kind of daunting. So that was a challenge, but these courses, they give you the tools to do it. I think the impression of college a lot of times is that you're kind of thrown to the wolves, and that's not true. The work is harder. I mean, it's college; it should be harder. But I felt like they taught me how to do it. I knew how to do it. I felt more comfortable doing hard work. And at the end, we did a grant proposal, a mock one, and that was our final project, and we could do that with no problem. Yeah, so that's one thing in college was I felt, the work's harder, but there's definitely a lot of help out there, so don't worry.
Yeah, for me, I guess, I was always super, super good at school. I graduated with a 4.0. I was salutatorian. And then I got to college and it was just a really big reality check. I couldn't hang out with my friends as much as I wanted to. I was getting C's my first semester because I really wanted a social life, and I also didn't know how to be a college student. And I personally didn't utilize any of the services properly until I was probably a sophomore. And my mom was like, Lauren, you're getting C's all the time. Like, you need to stop. And I was like, okay, you're right. I need to start using all these resources that MSU offers for free. And then that's when I started to see myself succeed. So for me, it was a pretty rough transition until I kind of like sat down with myself and was like, you need to start doing better. So, college, I guess, just main takeaway, it's a little harder than high school. Just a little.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. So kind of moving on from academics, I think that covered a good chunk in regards to research, services across campus that can help students. And so now I want to talk a little bit about living on campus. I know that obviously all freshmen are required to live on campus. So I want to open that up to you guys to just really talk about your experiences living on campus and what some of your favorite parts of it were. And also want to make a quick plug again, if the attendees have any questions, feel free to drop those in chat. But yeah, if anyone wants to start talking about their favorite experiences in the residence halls and where you guys specifically lived on campus, whoever wants to jump in there.
Yes. Oh, wait. Sorry, Allie, you can go.
Oh, okay, thanks. So, as a freshman, I lived in Yellowstone Hall. It was the second year that it was open, so it was nice and new and shiny. I was super excited to live there. I had an awesome roommate. We moved off campus my second year, and she was also my roommate then. So we definitely got along really well. One of my favorite experiences about living on campus would have been I was a part of Hall Council, which is very similar to like a student council you might have seen in high school, where we planned a lot of events. Our biggest event we had that year is we actually held a casino night where everyone dressed up really pretty. And then we had some tables, we had cards and snacks. And I think that moment was so much fun just because it was the first time I saw people that, like my neighbors and some of my friends, actually dress up out of their school clothes. And so that's partly why that was so memorable and fun. And I actually got to be a part of the planning process as well.
Yeah, so I lived in South Hedges. That is a co-ed residence hall, and I lived on a co-ed floor. So half of the floor was all girls, and then the other half was all guys. And then I also lived on a living learning community, an LLC, and basically those are just meant to help you build community and then find very similar like-minded people. I really enjoyed my residence hall because I got 2 RAs. A lot of people only get one. And then I had a guy and a girl. So if you had like any problems or anything, you could go to them. And then yeah, I had fun in my residence hall. It's one of the largest residence halls, so you get to meet people all the time. You are in the elevator and you see new faces every single day. And that's what I really, really enjoyed about living in South Hedges was just the fact that it was always busy. It was never really like quiet, I guess. I mean, there are quiet hours, but it's just there's people up all the time, basically.
Yeah, so like Allie, I lived in Yellowstone Hall as well. Uh, I really enjoyed it. My RA and I are pretty close. I know we played pranks each other all the time, so that was a lot of fun. My dorm life did get cut short though because COVID, so I didn't get the full experience, but I got a good chunk of it. So, but like also like Allie, my favorite thing is the poker night. That was so much fun. They do like the poker night dressing up, and it's poker, and I think it's also what else is it? I think it's blackjack as well. Yeah, and you can go the more higher you go up high stakes the games are, and you can win prizes. I had a friend that won a TV. That was just a lot of fun, dressing up, and the RAs also do it as well, so it's a big fun event.
Well, cool. Well, I know we're approaching the last couple minutes of the student panel. So kind of to wrap up, I like to ask this question, especially as some students are on that are in their college search. But what's the best advice you could give to an incoming freshman that's in their college search? And what's the best advice, again, to help them kind of not be so scared of college in that transition?
Yeah, so I would just recommend don't put so much pressure on yourself. I truly didn't decide to come to MSU until June of after I had graduated. So I just was putting so much pressure on myself to make a decision, and you have to like realize that you're 17, 18 years old and you're trying to make a really big decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And that's a lot of pressure. So just try and take a step back, enjoy your senior year, enjoy the college search and everything like that. Because once you get to the college that you want to be at, you will recognize and know if it's home or not. So yeah.
I have two words of advice. The first one is don't freak out about majors right now. I was one of the few people where I came in with the same major that I'm going to graduate with, and that is just because I am so stubborn that I refuse to change, even though it might have been a better option for me to explore other majors. So definitely don't let anyone pressure you into making any decisions right now. That is what your freshman and even the first part of your sophomore year is all about. The other words of wisdom, and this is something my parents had told me, is that you can still transfer. Let's say you go for a year, you think it's the place to be. There's nothing wrong with transferring. Here at MSU, we actually see quite a few people transfer into MSU. In the Office of Admissions, I've been giving a lot of meetings to transfer students, and so it's something that should not be stigmatized or think that you failed at one college. It's definitely it's just 1 year. It's another adventure, and definitely keep that open where if it's your freshman year and you're not feeling it, it's okay to transfer as well.
Yeah, my advice, I'm only a sophomore, so I probably have a lot more to learn. But don't come into college with any like preconceived ideas of, what. Yes, I mean you can, of course, but try new things. That's one thing. You never know sometimes what you like, or your taste might change. I know like certain activities or clubs you want to join. Just try new things. You don't have to always stay with them, but even academically, if you're interested in something, try that class. And like also like Ali said, I have a lot of friends that they were worried about changing their major, but it's really sometimes really important. Don't always stick with your plan. If it feels better to do something else, do something else. And that's like the biggest advice I could give.
Great advice. So thank you guys. And we are at the 4:30 mark, so this does conclude our time with our awesome students, but all the attendees who popped onto this meeting, thank you guys. And to Ali, Jonathan, and Lauren, thank you guys for sharing some of your insight into MSU and college experiences in general. This information session will be recorded, so students can always use it at a later time. But yeah, just thank you guys again and hope to see you all throughout the rest of Montana Webinar Week. Have a good rest of your evening, you guys, and thanks.